Pediatric tracheal intubation is an essential skill used to facilitate respiratory support, indicated where there is failure of oxygenation and ventilation because of primary respiratory disorder like pneumonia, ARDS, neuromuscular disorders, inability to maintain or protect airway where there is altered mental status with hypoventilation as in traumatic brain injury, intoxication, in case of severe systemic conditions such as hypotensive shock, cardiac arrest, and for elective anesthesia and sedation for surgeries and procedures like MRI, bronchoscopy, etc. There is no absolute contraindication unless there is an advance directive against airway placement. Relative contraindication, though, is an anticipated difficult airway, either because of difficult mass ventilation or difficulty in intubation. In such cases, one should ask for an airway expert help, call for emergency team in the hospital, and utilize the advanced airway technique and equipment. The key anatomical landmarks of larynx that one should know during intubation are the epiglottis, vallecula, arytenoid cartilage, aryepiglottic fold, vocal cord, and the glottis. Esophageal opening lies below the glottic opening. The pediatric airway is different from the adult airway. Pediatric patients have a large tongue in proportion to the mouth. The epiglottis is floppier and U-shaped and overhanging in children. Vocal cords have an upward slant and are not horizontal as in adults. Larynx itself is more anterior and superior in children. It is funnel-shaped with cricoid being the narrowest part. In supine position, the large head of the infant head causes neck flexion and compresses the upper airway passages. A combination of shoulder roll and headrest can bring an infant in classical sniffing position, which is ideal for intubation. Criteria is to align the glabella horizontally with the chin, open the anterior neck space, and align the external auditory meatus horizontally with the suprasternal notch. Sometimes a simple head extension may bring some infants in the sniffing position. Avoid overextension of neck as it may make laryngeal exposure difficult. Airway assessment and patient evaluation using a standard checklist as per hospital policies is recommended. It helps in formulating the plan of action and minimizes the risks and complication. Before intubating a child, confirm the availability of the following equipment: a suction device, oxygen supply and delivery devices, airway devices, pediatric monitors, medications like the pre-medication, induction agents, paralytic neuromuscular blocking drugs, emergency rescue drugs, IV fluids, a working IV access, and availability of personnel who are assistants, qualified doctors, and nurses. A difficult airway cart should be kept ready, containing mask and endotracheal tube of different sizes, laryngoscope with Miller and McIntosh blade, CMAC if available, oropharyngeal and nasopharyngeal airway, a bag marks ventilation device like the AMBU, stylet, Bagel forceps, bougie, supraglottic airway devices, suction catheters, and infant feeding tubes. Most hospitals would have a dedicated pediatric airway trolley containing all the pediatric airway devices in one place. In this first case, we have a 2-year-old 18 kg child posted for an elective laparoscopic orchidopexy for an undescended testis. Child was otherwise healthy with no other congenital issues. Airway assessment was normal with no loose teeth and good mouth opening. Child had a secure IV access of 22 gauge through which pre-medication of 0.8 mg midazolam and 80 micrograms of glyco IV was given. We checked the availability of correct size of endotracheal tube and one size down as well. The light of the laryngoscope blade was also checked. Pulse oximeter, 12-lead ECG, NIBP monitoring devices are applied. Avoid putting the NIBP cuff on the same hand as an IV and pulse oximeter probe. The child's head is positioned over a ring, so the child's head is stable. A small shoulder roll is kept under the shoulder blades without hyperextending the neck. The child should be on a flat, hard surface with head at the edge of the table at the level just above your abdomen, so you don't have to bend over to visualize the larynx and intubate the child. Child is infused with IV propofol 40 mg. Eye tapes are applied to avoid any inadvertent injury to the eye during intubation. Ventilation is confirmed with a mask. Here I am using a Jackson Rees circuit. Outside the OT, we could use a bag mask to confirm mask ventilation before giving an IV muscle relaxant. A paralyzed patient provides optimal conditions for intubation. Here 2 mg IV atracurium was given. Now ventilate the child with 90% oxygen and air mixture for around 3 minutes till the action of muscle relaxant has come and patient is optimally paralyzed. Here I am using a McIntosh laryngoscope blade in this child. Holding the laryngoscope blade in the left hand and using the right hand fingers to open the mouth, introduce the laryngoscope blade from the right angle of the mouth and gently slide it in while taking the tongue out to the left side. Be careful of any wobbly teeth and avoid any injury to the teeth, gums and lips of the child. You may need some external laryngeal pressure to visualize the epiglottis or the glottic opening. As you see the epiglottis, place the Macintosh blade in the valvula and lift the laryngoscope blade forwards and upwards. Once you visualize the glottic opening and the vocal cords, keep the vocal cords in focus and introduce the endotracheal tube from the right angle of the mouth into the glottic opening. The endotracheal cuff should be just beyond the vocal cords. Most endotracheal tubes would have a black line proximal to the cuff, which would be a marker to lie at the vocal cord level. Gently withdraw the laryngoscope. Now, optimally inflate the endotracheal tube cuff with air. Hold the endotracheal tube securely at the angle of the mouth. Also, note the marking of the endotracheal tube at the angle of the mouth. For confirmation of right placement of endotracheal tube in the trachea, we look for bilateral chest expansion using either umbu bag or the circuit as shown here. Also, bilaterally auscultate the chest for breath sounds. However, the most accurate way of confirmation of tracheal tube placement is the end-tidal CO2 waveform. For an uncuffed tube, the appropriate depth from angle of the mouth is 3 times the internal diameter of that endotracheal tube. Now, disconnect the umbu bag circuit and secure the endotracheal tube with Dynaplast or micropore sticking tapes at the angle of the mouth as per the hospital practice. Endotracheal intubation is a strong stressful stimulus and you should be watchful for the vital parameters during the procedure. Hence, also minimize the duration and the number of attempts for laryngoscopy and intubation. Desaturation can be rapid in a patient with poor respiratory reserve, hence a good pre-oxygenation for 2 to 3 minutes gives you just enough time for intubation. An X-ray chest confirms the optimal placement of endotracheal tube in trachea. Appropriate position would be distal tip of the endotracheal tube below the level of clavicle and above the carina. Right mainstem bronchial intubation may occur if endotracheal tube is advanced too far into the trachea. In such cases, again do a laryngoscopy and withdraw the endotracheal tube under vision. Additional doses of sedation and analgesia should be administered soon after intubation depending upon the clinical circumstances.